episode of Dancing Heart, the place that inspires you to follow your heart and dream big. In today's episode, I have my first guest on the show, Stephanie Kroll. Stephanie has been and still is a huge inspiration to me. She is one of the people that just do it. And I'm so excited to share her story and her wisdom with you today. Get ready and let's dive in. Welcome to the Dancing Heart podcast, Stephanie Kroll.
Torny, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. It's such an honor to be on your podcast. With how long we've known each other, I think it's been a little over a year now. So, yeah, I'm just so excited to be here. It's amazing that you're doing this. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we met a year ago through DCI, and you were the first person that I reached out to because you had taken the big step from going in from a corporate world into growing your own business and also as a single mother. And I just like, I have to speak with you. And I'm so excited to have you on my podcast and to share your journey and to inspire others as well. But first of all, I want to ask you, what makes your heart dance today?
Ooh, what makes my heart dance? Honestly, it's whenever I am connecting with someone in laughter. If I'm with somebody and we're just cracking up, laughing about things, like that is where I truly feel that my heart is the happiest.
That's amazing. Laughter is it's so fun to laugh. We should laugh more.
Exactly, exactly. Even through the fuck ups.
Yes, that's the most important to laugh through the fuck ups, right?
Mhm.
Anyway, so you tell me a little about yourself and where you are today versus where you were 2 years ago.
Yeah, so I am 33 years old. I have a 13-year-old son on the autism spectrum. And right now, I'm currently a teacher's assistant at Dharma Coaching Institute. I own my own coaching business as a sole purpose coach, and I have recently picked up a job at my son's ABA therapy company where I'm doing HR, I'm recruiting therapists, and hopefully, I have some like future plans of maybe being that company's kind of like Dharma coach and making sure the employees are like, feeling good in their mental health and wellness. And that way they can really be of service to, our clients and the students on the autism spectrum that they're serving. So yeah, that's where I'm at
Wow.
now.
Look
Um,
at you, Stephanie. And yeah, how amazing. I remember our first call like a year ago when you told me about your how you transitioned from your corporate into the coaching, and now you the year later you are even transitioned into another work job. That's amazing.
yeah, I've always felt, when I started my business as a sole purpose coach, there was still this piece of me that I felt wasn't really being brought to the forefront, and that was, me being a special needs mom. And I never really resonated with actually working with kids on the spectrum because I just felt like, I know my son, and I take care of him all day, so it's like that's the only, that's the only place I'm really feeling called to when it comes to working with kids on the spectrum. But I feel like after picking up this job that came in divine timing, it's like, wow, I can actually be there to help the therapists that are working with kids with special needs. And yeah, 2 years ago, I was just a receptionist, um, and working a 9 to 5, really unfulfilled, really, kept myself small, feeling like, oh, I have to, as a single mom, I have to, do jobs that I don't necessarily like just to keep a roof over our head, food on the table, and feeling like there wasn't really many options for me, especially because I never graduated high school. So I really put myself in this box and really kept myself small for so long until, I started my own self-discovery journey, which led me to the Dharma Coaching Institute, being a student and then graduating. And now, launched my own business, working for the Dharma Coaching Institute, and like I said, now with this new part-time job of working with my son's ABA therapy company. So yeah, everything's kind of just come along, and I'm now seeing like how everything connects in like with my purpose. So it's been a beautiful journey, and still growing and still continuing it.
You are. And tell me more about the transition, because I think there are so many people sitting in an unfulfilled job just to be where you were like a couple of years ago and where I was myself. I were myself like just a year ago. You just
Hmm.
have to keep working because you have the bills to pay and you have the family to support or your child. And
Hmm.
what about yourself? And what made you said you went into your self-discovery journey, and what brought you to become a coach?
That's a great question. I always felt like I was downplaying everything in my life. I knew deep down that I have so much to offer, but I just kind of felt like, oh, well, because of how I look on paper, it's not I'm not going to really get anywhere with that. I also thought that the things that I really love, that really light me up, I call them hobbies because that's what our society, tells us that the things that we love, they're just hobbies, but you really got to get realistic and find something that's going to actually make you money. So, there's all these pieces of me where, thinking back in school, the only thing that I loved the most with going to school, and this was like, elementary school, middle school, high school, was connecting with my friends, like being around like my people, being around just people that I got along with, and again, laughing with them, making jokes, like just having a really good time. That was the thing that was really like my motivator to go to school, was just being around people because I was a grew up as a single child, so I didn't really have that social life at home. So it was like school was my place where I could connect with people. And having that nurturing side to yourself, you don't really see value in that. You don't really see like how can that really, turn into a career, turn into something that you can really, really love doing and make money doing it. Um, so as I was going through really learning about myself, and this started in 2020 when the lockdown for the United States happened, I wasn't working temporarily, and I was just learning and learning and learning about myself, and um, just finding out the things that really brought me joy. And I was, like, maybe I should like maybe be a self-love coach. Maybe I can like incorporate yoga and cannabis in some way, something. And I couldn't really pinpoint exactly what that was. And then Sahara Rose, Ajita Nita, they announced the Dharma Coaching Institute. They're the founders of the Dharma Coaching Institute. And this is where you can be certified to be a Dharma and spiritual life coach. So in that moment, I knew that that was exactly my path, again, divine timing, the perfect thing for me. And there was resistance, of course, around like, there's so many coaches in the world. Who am I? Like so many other qualified people that can do this better than me. And throughout the program, it was really amazing because not only are you getting to know people who are actually just going through that same journey with you, but you get to be coached by them. And really, you're being coached as you're turning into a coach, which I think is really amazing and just so needed. Um, and with that, I just realized that how like our individuality is so important. Like you're a coach and I'm a coach, but we coach in completely different ways. Our energy can show up in completely different ways, and our message to people can resonate with different people. And I didn't really see the value in that until I started on this journey. And that's when I realized like how much the school system really just like strips us of that individuality, of our creativity, makes us like compare ourselves to other people, which is really not what we're here to do. We're here to enjoy life and be of service in a way that feels really, really good to us. So that's how I started, my coaching business and that journey in becoming a coach, and really just seeing the value of me being myself, being exactly who I am, and sharing these things that were really shameful in my life and in my story, and how powerful that is and how much that can resonate with people.
That's so powerful. And that's such a bold move. And that's why I also was so drawn to you. I think like she did it. She's a single mom and she just did it. How did you get the bold to just move forward? Like I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna succeed in this. What was your
Mm-hmm.
ultimate, like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Your ultimate
You know
push.
what? I was actually planning on doing a slower transition out of my receptionist job into the coaching business. And at the time, I was in a relationship. My boyfriend and I were living together, and we had a discussion about it, and it was kind of like, said that like, okay, he's gonna help support me while I do this. So that made me feel, a little bit secure, a little bit better about it. But then one day I was at work and I just like it was a week that the HR manager, she was on vacation. And I was just expected because of how long I had worked at the company and how many hats I had worn. I was just expected for $15 an hour to take on anyone's role that was on maternity leave, was out of town, out sick without any extra pay. And and I was fed up with it. And I was at my job. I was trying to do, one role and my own at the same time. And I was completely frustrated and I'm like, that's it. And I said, I'm putting my 2 weeks in right now. Because if I don't do it, I'm going to talk myself out of it later. So I literally went to the owner of the company that day and I said, look, I'm going to school to be a coach. I'm doing, I have a lot of plans moving forward and like this isn't the path for me anymore. So I kind of just like ripped off that band-aid and did it. Um, and it was extremely scary. It was so scary, and just not having that solid paycheck coming in, the idea of that like terrified me. Um, and then the universe really wanted to like slap it in my face like a couple months after I launched my business. That relationship that I was in ended. So that, that security that I had around like someone else is going to help financially support me and my son while I go through this leap, was no longer there, but it really taught me to look at my own wounds and my own healing. And I had a huge wound around abandonment as a child. My parents divorced when I was 6, and like I said, I'm a single child, so their only child. So I was kind of in the middle of my parents' divorce. I never really got like therapy for it, or, I never really got help around that. And I didn't see how much that affected me until that relationship that I had that was no longer, which actually guided me more into my Dharma and more into my purpose of this inner child work and connecting with your inner child and how important that is to do the healing, but to also connect on a level of joy.
Mm. So you took your hardest moment into your blessings and you went inside and you discovered you healed you went into your inner child journey. Tell me more about how did you do that?
So I was looking at my relationships, like I was in bed one day, couldn't sleep, and all these things are running through my head of like, why does this happen to me? Why do I keep attracting these type of relationships? Why? Really being a victim. And then I don't know, something just overcame me, and I was like, holy shit, I'm in a loop of something that I have not looked at to heal. And once I did that, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to just jump into another relationship because I don't want to be alone like I've been doing all of my life. I think just not having a really solid bond with my parents or not really having like friends that I've been friends with for years and years and years. I always had a different group of friends like growing up and everything. I always felt so alone and I always leaned on a relationship. I've always been that girl that's been in a relationship. Always, always, always. And I remember like my guy friends would be like, you're never single, Stephanie. Like, when can I get a chance? like I'm only single for like a couple weeks and done. No, but I
Oh,
decided to not do that this time around. And I'm like, okay, how can I heal this abandonment wound? And I realized all those things that I like look for externally, like look all the things that I'm sorry, all the things that I look for, like happiness, fulfillment, love. I was looking for that externally through friendships, through my relationships. And I really learned how to give all of those things to myself. I bought books. I took courses. Rising Woman, she's amazing for this kind of work when it comes to like healing that abandonment wound and really becoming the one for yourself versus needing, to find your soulmate, not feeling complete until your soulmate is in your life. Like she kind of just erases that idea of that stigma that we grow up of, you get married and then you kind of, that's it. Like, then you just kind of live life. And it really taught me that there was so much expectation around relationships. And once I really just learned how to love myself and give all of those things I was seeking externally to myself, that's when I started really attracting like the most important people in my life.
oh, how beautiful. What did you do exactly? Can you describe like how you connect to your inner child? What you like practical do?
Yeah. So, okay, so we'll do the shadow and we'll do the light as well. So, um, if I'm feeling really left out. That's a sign that you have an abandonment wound is if you have these feelings of like being left out of things. Which is a theme like with my family. Like I always grew up and the story I would tell myself is like, oh, they don't think to invite me to things. They don't let me know about plans that go on. And I'll see like photos of my family on Facebook of like cousins that will come into town and they all go out to dinner or they have a party and like nobody thinks to invite me or tell me about it. So I've always had this like, oh, I'm so left out, like type of feeling. And it came up recently, actually. I wonder if my if my boyfriend's gonna hear this podcast. But he went out like for things Friendsgiving with his friends, like for Thanksgiving, and the friends would get together and have like a little party and he didn't invite me. And then he like shared pictures of it on Instagram. And at first, like I was really triggered around, wow, like I felt really left out. Like he didn't think to invite me. Like, does he like, is he ashamed of me? Like all of those things were running through my head. And then I kind of just sat there and what really helps me is like journaling around it or just like having that internal conversation with the younger version of me, with 6-year-old me. I really resonate with the 6-year-old version of me because that's the age that my parents got divorced. And just having a conversation of like, how do you feel about that? Well, that made me feel really alone. That made me feel left out. And then really validating that, like, that you're totally that's totally valid to feel that way. Like, anyone would. And then just being like, how can you give that to yourself? If you feel left out, what can you do to make yourself feel more welcome and more loved? And that for me, I look at my love languages, which are physical touch and words of affirmation. So I usually go to the words of affirmation in a situation like this, and really giving myself those words and writing them out and repeating them and saying them out loud, maybe saying them in a mirror, saying them to a photo of my younger self, of just anything that I need to hear. So if it's like you are loved, you are appreciated, you are worthy, anything that really just makes my heart feel full, that's what I'll go into and that's what I'll do. So that's just an example of giving myself that validation, making myself feel seen and heard through myself. And then on the other side of it, there's connecting with my inner child with what brings her joy, what lights her up, what makes her heart dance. And and I'll tune in the mornings. Like if I need space and I need time to just like unplug from work or whatever it is. Like I just tune into her and I ask her like, what do you want to do today? And usually it's dancing, it's singing, sometimes it's acting. So sometimes I'll just throw on a Disney song and just like sing and dance to it and kind of act out the characters and everything. And like just doing things like that took like 5 minutes, but it really lifted, my energy and my vibration and really put me in a place where I was ready to play and I was ready to just be happy and be joyful. And that is a very simple way to explain, like the quickest little cheat sheet way to like connect with your inner child is just asking, what do you want to do? Like, how do you feel free?
Nice. I love that. And you know what? I was thinking about you. It was 2 days ago. I was about to go to a cafe just to edit the podcast. And I didn't have any headphones that connected with my computer. So I had to take my daughter's one with Hello Kitty. And it was like pink and all the colorfuls. I was like, you know what? Whatever. It's my inner child. And I was thinking about you. Because I was just
Yes.
sitting in the restaurant with the Hello Kitty, and I was like, you know what? It's fine. And my nails are matching too. Like, how fun is this?
Oh, love it. And I love the color pink. As you can see, I'm wearing pink too. Pink is like one of my favorite colors. And you know what else is great that you reminded me of? Because we've done some inner child work together. And you were actually the first person that had brought up that you wanted to do the inner child work, to better connect with your own child. And I was like, wow, that is really, really powerful. And really, putting ourselves as that child, because when we grow up and we become adults, like we really forget what it's like to be a kid. And we just want the best for our children. But we forget to look at it from their point of view. And that's a great thing about inner child work with parents is that you can really put yourself in, your child's age, like the younger version of you, and really see where they're coming from so you can really connect with them at that level.
It's true because the inner child work that I did with you to connect with my own daughter, especially after moving here to Mexico, when everything she knew was, like suddenly taken away from her. So I needed to work on her safety to make her feel safe. And by connecting to my own inner child when I was her age, I could see what she needed. And everything was, they shifted my perspective on her as well. And it became more easier for her to feel more safe in her new environment. And we also drew out her joy list, what she likes to do. And we like pick it up like, okay, what do you want to do on your joy list today? Because that is
Mhm.
something that I had to do for myself. And I came here like, what do you like to do? Like, I don't even know who I am anymore. Like, what do you like to do? And writing out my joy list. And then we wrote out my daughter's joy list. Like, what do you like to do? She's like
Mhm.
drawing and she likes, painting and going to the playground. And so we made sure that we did something every day that was on her joy list. Doesn't have to be like a big thing. It could be like watching a movie or cooking together or, like singing together. I love that. I can
Mhm.
put on any other song for her in can be in English, in Spanish, in Norwegian, whatever language, and she will just sing. She hears it one time and she just sing along. She
Uh,
doesn't care.
she's a
So
darling.
she is. She was dancing on the way to kindergarten today with her little Christmas thing in her hair, and so she's like just dancing in the street. And like watching them, they are so authentic and real and in the present moment, and it brings you so much joy. What if we can be more of that?
Yeah, absolutely. When we are just in our joy and being really present with it, that is when we're really connected with our inner child. So yeah, and that's also healing as well.
It is just get away all of the expectations that you have and just connect, be in the present moment, enjoy, laugh, have fun. Like you said, whatever makes your heart dance, because your kid is a reflection of you. So they're mirroring you all the time. So
Absolutely.
that's beautiful. And it's also so inspiring to see you because when I connected with you a year ago, you just become the teaching assistant in the Dharma Coaching Institute. You just got your way started. And I see you now 1 year later, how much your Dharma has evolved because you're
Hmm.
constantly becoming, you're constantly growing. You are And you are on the job that you have now. You could never imagine having that job like a year ago, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would not have found this job a year ago. So it just goes to show everything, like even though I had plans of, my boyfriend at the time, helping me financially and supporting me, those plans didn't, follow through. But even though that's what I had planned and it didn't work out that way, like again, divine timing, the universe, just everything folded out exactly how it needed to be. I would not have really stepped into this inner child work as much as I have now if it wasn't for that breakup that I did not expect.
Exactly. So everything happens for a reason. You just don't see the reason in the moment. You see it afterwards. And then you reflect back on it. And then you
Mhm.
understand, oh, this is how it was supposed to work out. Okay, thank you. But I was just wanted to ask you because there are so much self-doubt when you're going to take these big steps in life and you're going to take these decisions. And how do you know what is the right thing for you?
So, what's really, really helped me with this is learning about my human design. I didn't know what human design was until I think like 2021, about a year ago. And for me, like that really, really helped me see, like, oh, wow, like all of these things I was so resistant to, I'm resistant to them for a reason. Like the things and when I say that, I mean like the things that you're told that you should do, right? That, society tells you, oh, you have to do this, you should be doing this. When in reality, like when I teach people their human design, like it gives them that permission slip to be how they've intuitively always wanted to be. And it's like, oh, that's why, I had resistance to this, or that's why this didn't work out. And with that, I followed that and I really, really wanted to just step into that because I feel like that is so true to me of, you know, as a generator, if I have if it's not a full body yes, that means it's a no and I shouldn't be doing it. But also too, if it's things like, having a business and being the one and only person that's running it, there are little things in the business that don't light me up so much. Like the overall business and the idea of the business and what I bring as a coach lights me up, but all of the little technical things, the background things, like they don't. But then it's like, okay, like one, I can either hire out and have somebody do this, which is future goals for me. I am actually looking into hiring an assistant very soon, which I'm really excited about. Um, I also was like, okay, for the stuff that doesn't seem so fun, like how can I tap into my inner child to make this more joyful for me? So what that looks like is like playing music. Like music really, really like affects my energy. So it's like if I'm playing upbeat music and just having a good time, like I can like sift through all of those things that feel a little bit boring, but I do it with joy. I do it connected with my inner child. So just trying to find the things that really just like really feel good for me. One, and then two, it's there's something called your authority in human design where mine, for example, I have an emotional authority, which means that I should only be making decisions not in the moment, not when I'm super excited or I'm super like low, but when I'm level headed, when I'm clear headed, and they say wait about 24 hours to a week to make your decision. Don't make it in that moment. And I used to be so impulsive. And anytime I was really excited about something, everything was always a yes. And then like say like, someone asked me, "Oh, do you want to go do this thing next week?" And I was in an excited mood. I'd be like, "Yes, of course." And then like next week would come and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm really not like I don't want to do this, but I already committed." So I really just like set myself up for success with being like, okay, let me honor my authority. Let me wait to make this decision. And then really just leaning into my gut feeling. That is, that's been so helpful. But I did have a struggle with, is this fear or is this gut feeling? Is this like, do I have a fear around this or is it a gut feeling? So really just being able to wait until I'm clear headed has really, really helped me to know, like, okay, is this the right direction or not? But it's always going to be what your heart says yes to. We always want to think with our minds. And really, we're, like I said, we're here to be in our joy. We're here to follow our hearts. And how can we do that? How can you do that in your life? How can you follow your heart more over your mind?
Yes, that's why I'm here in Mexico right now. My heart brought me here. Oh my gosh. But sometimes it's also like, okay, so what is the next step? But you have
Hmm.
to just trust the process.
Yeah, and I used to be one that was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna do that until I feel ready to do it," or "I'm not gonna make the first step until I have all of my ducks in a row, until I have it all planned out." And that's actually like not the way that we should be living our lives. It's not the way to do anything because you'll never find that right moment. There will always be excuses of how you're not ready enough when really you become ready the second you say that you are, even if you aren't physically ready with a plan or anything like that. Once you say, I'm ready to do this, that is the time that you are ready. So if you just tell, and that's what I did, I told myself, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to just go into DCI, the Dharma Coaching Institute, and become a coach because I feel like that's really lighting me up right now. Even though there were parts of it that were scary, and even though I did have somewhat of a plan, that plan fell through. And even though I did not have a plan after that, I was really in this space of like, let me just live my life. Let me just take it one day at a time, one step at a time. And it has unfolded so, so well for me. And I feel like anyone who's listening, if you've ever just looked back at your life and didn't have a plan for something, but notice all of the things that worked out anyways. Like why you're here, like how you're here today. Think back of all of those little pieces that you couldn't plan out that really got you to where you are.
It's so true. And I so resonate with that. I just shared my story about how I came home from Ecuador 6 years ago. I was pregnant. I didn't have a plan and it worked out. So and
Absolutely.
also it reminds you about everything will work out. Just think about the time that it did work out for you. And
Absolutely.
also, you don't always see step two until you have taken the first step.
One step at a time.
One step at a time, one day at a time.
Hmm.
And I think the last question I want to ask you, Stephanie, is what advice would you be happy to have back like 2 years ago when you transitioned from your corporate job into your own business? What advice would you give yourself now?
Mm. It's probably the advice that one of the master coaches in DCI actually gave me during a coaching session that her and I had. And if I would have known this a little bit earlier in my life, this would have helped me out. But again, divine timing, everything unfolds how it should. But I would just tell myself that it doesn't fucking matter what you look like on paper. It matters how you make people feel. And that's what people are going to remember about you. And that is how you are going to live out your purpose.
Wow, that is such a powerful message and advice. I even have my goosebumps when you said that. So
Thank you.
beautiful, Stephanie. Where can people find you?
On Instagram, my handle is I am Stephanie Kroll. I'm on Instagram. Send me a message. I'll reply back. I'm very personable, very like conversations, and I love connecting with people, and especially if my story resonates. Like I really love hearing those people. I get that all the time. Like, oh my gosh, your story resonated so much with me with this piece and this piece and this piece, like even if it's not somebody that's a high school dropout, that's a single mom of a child on the autism spectrum, there are still pieces that resonate, right? Like all of our journeys somehow resonate in some way with one another. So I love hearing other people's stories and how my story helped shift them.
Because you were the one that helped shifted my perspective and everything is possible. So thank you for being this huge inspiration, Stephanie, that you have been and still are. And I wish you the best of luck with the new job and your moving to a new house.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that next chapter. Thank you so much, Torny. And I'm so proud of you for how far you've come and everything and being an inspiration to others as well. So it's been an honor to have this conversation with you and to be in your energy.
Thank you, Stephanie. A huge thanks to Stephanie Kroll, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you like this show, don't forget to share it with your friends, and you can also tag me on Instagram on Torny Wiggum. I wish you a beautiful day, and I will see you next week. Sending you lots of love from Playa, Mexico. Bye!